Presenting on the pandas exercise, starting with the salaries exercise. In the first box, as seen on the screen, we see the import pandas as PD. Pandas is a tool that is used by Python to manage its data. So calling it PD is simply nicknaming pandas so that we don't have to type pandas all throughout, thereby wasting our time. In the second box, we have the command called the sal equal PD dot read underscore CSV as seen on the screen. This command starts with sal equal, that's the salary is equal to PD is the pandas that we called for in the import command just before, and read underscore CSV is a function that is used to read a CSV file. CSV means comma separated values, and then the bracket bearing the salaries of CSV is actually the file that we want to open. Next, we have our sal.head command. This command is used to display the first 5 rows of data frame, like we see on the screen, 5 different employees with their data. Next, we have the sal.info command. This one is used to display like a full summary of the entire data set. Like we can see from the information that the command runs that we have over 148,000 entries. We also have our sal base pay mean command, which is simply used to calculate the mean of the column base pay as seen on the quote. So sal is simply calling the entire data set. The base pay is simply calling for that particular column called base pay as seen on the quotes, and the mean is simply used to calculate the average of that particular column. The next command likewise is sal overtime pay, which is used to call the data set, which is a sal, and then it calls a particular column, same part overtime pay, and then it calculates the maximum value. What is the job title of Joseph Driscoll? And we have the command sal employee name Joseph Driscoll job title written there. Why do we have them in capital letters in the first place? Because if they are typed in small letters, then Joseph Driscoll might not be found, because there's no employee name on the table with small or lowercase letters. So they will simply call sal, which is a calling for the entire data set. Then we call employee name, meaning that we're actually calling for a particular column, and then we assign Joseph Driscoll to that employee name, meaning that in that column we are looking for the row bearing Joseph Driscoll. In that row, we're now going to find the job title of Joseph Driscoll. And the same goes for the next command, where we're asking for how much does Joseph Driscoll make, including his benefits. We'll simply have the same command repeat itself, but this time instead of writing job title, we'll write out the pay benefits, because the order is the same. In the next box, the question is what is the highest paid, or who is the highest paid person? The command that we use there goes through the entire data set when it calls sal, goes through the entire data set, and then now it checks for the row with the highest value, and then it displays that row. And that row, do you notice anything strange about how much this lowest person is paid? Yes, because the total pay benefits column is negative, which means that in literal terms he's actually owing the state. Instead of him being paid, he's actually working on the negative value. In real life, this is not possible, because it's not possible that an employer should be owing the institution, but his value is negative. What is the average mean base pay for all workers? We use the command that we see then on the screen, calls group by year. It groups all years, and then it finds the mean of each column, the average of each column. As the average base pay of all employees per year. Next question. The command that we use there, which is sal.group by year, this particular portion of the command groups all rows by their years. Then the next portion is .mean. It takes all these rows, right, and it calculates their mean. And then the base pay is showing that it should calculate the mean only of the base pay column and display only the base pay column, meaning that it calculates the mean of the group, and then it displays the mean or the average of only the base pay columns as seen in the output. Next question, how many unique job titles are there? Sal job title.unique. It goes through the entire data set, and it brings out the job title column, and then it starts looking for all unique values in that column. Next, what are the top 5 most common jobs? Sal job title, it calls the entire data set, finds the job title column, and then it starts to count the values in the job title column row by row, and then now it displays the first 5 rows, because head bracket 5 means displaying the first 5 rows. Many job titles were represented by only one person in the year 2013. The command that we see there is the sal year 2013. It checks all rows bearing 2013, then you see job title there. It now checks the job title column of all those rows bearing 2013. Then it moves forward to the dot value count. It now counts all rows that have met the condition, that means that in 2013 and in the job title column. Then now it says equal to 1. That means that it checks which job title exists only once, and then the sum that we have at the beginning is there to count the total number of conditions that have met that particular criteria. That means 2013 row, job title column. How many people have the word chief in their job title? The command that we use is the def chief string title. That first line simply creates a function called chief string that can take a job title. The next line, it now brings a condition. If chief is found in the title.lower, title.lower is there to make us understand that if the chief is in capital letters or in lowercase letter, it should accept it. And then if it actually finds it, it should return the value true, else it should return the value false. The command we see is the ecom.here. It's used to display the first 5 rows of a data frame or a data set. Like we see, the output displays 5 different rows of e-commerce purchases. Next box we have is question: how many rows and columns are there? To answer that question, we're going to use a command called ecom.info. This command displays like an entire summary of the data set. So if you look at the output, you actually see the rows, the data types. So it gives us a summary of the data set, and then from this output we can also see that they have about 10,000 entries. So that's what .info, ecom.info does. It gives us a summary of everything in the data set. What is the average purchase price? We use the formula, the command ecom purchase price.mean, where ecom we call the entire data set, which is called e-commerce data set, and then we call the column called purchase price dot mean, meaning that we want to calculate the mean or the average of all values in the data in the purchase price column. Next we have what is the highest and the lowest purchase prices. We use same or similar commands. It only varies where we have to use max and min. We use ecom purchase price to call the e-commerce data set, and then we have purchase price to call the particular column purchase price, and then dot max to display the highest value in that entire column. And then the next one mean the same thing, ecom call data set, purchase price, select the particular column, and then display the lowest value in that column. Next, we have how many people have English EN as their language of choice on the website. We use ecom language equal to en.count, where ecom calls the data set as usual. Language simply comes in to call the language data column, the language column, and then equal to en is going to display all rows. It's going to call for all rows bearing en in the language column. All rows in the language column bearing the word the two letters en, and then dot count simply means that it's going to count the number of rows meeting that criteria, the number of rows bearing en in their data in the data column language. Next, we have how many people have the job title of lawyer. Likewise, ecom job equal to lawyer. It calls data set e-commerce, and it calls the column job, and then in the column job it is finding for all rows bearing the word lawyer. When it finds all rows that bear the word lawyer, it implements the method .info, meaning that it wants to find out information only about those rows that have met the criteria, the criteria of being in the job column and bearing the word lawyer in their rows. The next, and if we look at the output, we see that there are 30 entries. So apparently there are 30 job titles or jobs that have the word lawyer in them. The next one, we have how many people made the purchase during the AM and how many people made the purchase during the PM. We use the formula ecom AM or PM. That one just calls the data set ecom, and then AM or PM is like the criteria that has been given in the question. The value count, we all know that value count is just there to count particular values or data. So it selects either in the entire table, it counts the AM or the PM and it displays it. And if you look at the output, we see 5,068, and then the AM is 4,932. Next, we have what are the 5 most common job titles. The command we used was ecom job, simply to call the data set and then the job column, and then we have dot value count. It counts the number of rows in the in the job column, and then now it displays only the first 5 at the top. That means that it sees through all rows in the job column, but it displays only the first 5. That's why we use the command head equal head bracket 5. Next command, we have someone made a purchase that came from lot 90 WT. What is the purchase price for this transaction? First, we call ecom lot equal to 90. We call e-commerce data table the column lot, and then it searches for all rows bearing 90W, and then it displays that those columns plus the purchase price of those respective data rows. Next one, what is the email of the person following the credit card number 49 blah blah blah? That command is similar to the previous one. Simply find the column, find the particular row with the information, and then display it alongside its corresponding email. The next one is due to time constraints. How many people have American Express as their credit card provider and made purchase above $95? In the command that we see on the screen, we use the CC provider equal to American Express, meaning that you will find you'll find the provider column, and then you will check for all rows in that column bearing the American Express as their value, and then you will now go to the purchase price column and you check for all prices that are greater than 95. I don't know if it's in dollars, and then you will now put both criteria. The AND function that binds them is to make sure that both of them are true at the same time, and if both of them are true at the same time, then the last function that counts, it counts all the values that meet that criteria and displays it. Next question, how many people have credit card numbers that expire in 2025? We use the command ecom cc expiry date. We call the column in the data set, apply lambda x3, it calls for all characters after position 3, and then equal to 25. Make sure that after those 3 characters, it must bear 25, representing 2025. When an element meets all these criteria, it finds its sum, and the sum is 1033. That will display all people with credit cards that expire after 2025. Question, what are the 5 most popular email providers / hosts? The command that we use is ecom email equals the email column in the data set, apply lambda x, it makes the email address to be a function, and then it splits it at level, and then when it calls it 1, like you see on the image, when it calls it 1, it means that it is calling for the second portion of the split, and then it does the method value count, meaning that it wants to count how many times each email provider has appeared, and once it gets the number of times that each email provider has appeared, using now the head, that is .head 5, to display the 5 highest ranking email provider, the top 5 results. Thank you.